Everybody ready?
Yep. Let's go.
Ahsoka!
4 Midwest Guys presents Star Wars Rebels HQ.
Battles leave scars. Some you can't see.
Holocron. I'm afraid it's changing him.
I will never let my friends get hurt again.
Your anger gives you strength.
Governor Price, these rebels have proven particularly stubborn. How do you intend to solve this problem?
I need someone who sees a bigger picture.
To defeat an enemy, you must know them, not simply their battle tactics, but their history, philosophy, art.
I must become more powerful.
Split the treasure. Oh,
That's a classic.
One last glorious day in the Grand Army of the Republic.
Jedi and Sith, the light and the dark.
They'll be the architects of their own destruction.
The key to destroying the Sith.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Star Wars Rebels HQ. Today we'll be reviewing Season 3, Episode 4, The Antilles Extraction. With me today is Mr. Brian Eckenbauer.
What's up?
And my brother Aaron.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Pretty good, guys. All right, ready to do some talk some Rebels?
Sure. Where does the term Antilles come from on this?
Antilles?
Yeah.
It's the name of...
It's his last name.
Wedge Antilles is his last name.
Oh, okay.
So...
Oh, I didn't pick up on that in the episode. That's why I was
they
curious
don't
about
actually say it in the episode, I don't think. They just call him Wedge.
Oh, okay.
Or
that works then.
Whatever it was.
You would have had to have just seen
3-6.
episode 4.
Tie 3-6.
Did they refer to him as Wedge Antilles in episode 4?
I think so.
Or did they
In
just
the
refer
actual
to
Star
him
Wars?
as Wedge?
I think it's just Wedge, but I think over the, obviously the figures and stuff, you get the full name.
Oh, okay. So it's like in those little books of like background information sort of thing?
Well, like I said, you get the
action figure.
you buy the action figure and
In
it
the
says
packet,
Wedge
it says Wedge
Antilles.
Antilles.
Was there a Wedge action figure back then?
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
Really?
yeah. Oh, yeah. I had it. Yeah.
All right.
Played with it a lot. It was fun. Anyway. All right, so let's get right into episode 4. This opens up with, I guess we see a kind of a transport, a food transport, I guess. The rebels trying to help people out again.
Well, it's a transport. They're transporting cargo. I'm not sure if it ever really goes into like what it is shipping specifically.
I think they do say something about a food shipment.
Oh, really?
Or you'll get your food shipment
It was
or
either,
something
it was
like
either
that.
food shipment or supplies or something. Like.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we find out that they're getting a rebel escort anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily, I don't even know if the shipment is necessarily a rebel per se, other than maybe they're running a blockade because we've seen other worlds where the Empire just cuts off food in order to get them to obey.
Well, the funny thing is, like, if it's having like a escort, like you do find out a few minutes later that it's almost an unarmed escort, right?
Well, they find out that they're given a rebel escort. Is what they say. They say, well, luckily, the rebels gave us an escort, and that's where the lady says, I didn't realize they were so well equipped. And then he goes on further to say, well, not really. We're just lucky to have them, really. They're actually not, they don't have a lot of pilots. Kind of establishing the theme for the episode, so to speak. So they got very few pilots. I think it's establishing again, how scarce the rebels are and just how very little resources they have and how they're struggling.
We've already had multiple episodes where they have to find more ships, and then the pilots keep dying off, and
they get killed, and it's not just fuel and ships. It's people. It's any kind
What
of
is
resource.
the death toll on this series so far? I mean, dear God.
They kill a lot of people for a kids' cartoon series. I mean, yeah.
I don't know. We'll get the count by the time it's around the end of the series.
But
Either that, or you can go back and rewatch it and just have a little clicker, just count.
But it's interesting.
7.
Well, yeah, you could probably do that, but it's kind of interesting how they do it too, because they just show them starting to blow up and then they fade away, and you're just left to know that they blew up in space.
Well, pretty much, but it's not really that
It's
far
not like
off.
the Porkins effect where you literally see him like get his whole ship enveloped.
Right.
And
well, I mean, even if you go back to like a lot of the old like Star Wars films and even like the Clone Wars, like a lot of it dies off screen, or you have like the blaster kind of cauterizes the wound, so you don't see like blood dripping out, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things that kind of keep the rating down in terms of like gore.
Well, and they kind of have to. I mean, if this was on Netflix, I'm sure it would be a completely different story.
Yeah, but I mean, even go back to the films. There's a lot of people that get cut in half and just fall off the side of a.
Yeah, well, even when Maul gets cut in half, you just see like a red mist in the movie. You don't actually see blood spurting everywhere. It's just kind of like a kind of mist.
And then the body just falls down.
And Maul like, what the fuck just happened? Yeah, kind of look on his face. But so yeah, anyway, so they're establishing, I think, that the rebels are incredibly desperate. That this is not the rebellion that we've seen in the movies by any stretch of the imagination. They're not.
Well,
they're not to that point yet.
Not to that point yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly at the beginning phases that we're kind of following, throughout the series. So it's not quite ready to destroy the Death Star by any means.
Not yet. I think we're getting close. I think we're really close to Episode 4 in the timeline. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Where do you think we're at? Do you think we're years, months, days?
I don't think we're quite to Rogue One yet.
Okay.
Like, I think that's... Rebels is going to run into Rogue One.
Yeah, pretty quick.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, I do too. I think we're maybe a couple months out from Rogue One's timeline. That's
maybe even a year.
Maybe. That might be pushing it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really think that the way Rebels is going to go this season
is going
to lead into Rogue One.
Yeah.
Just to pull that stuff together.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. I think that's exactly where they're going. I think if they don't, they're missing a huge opportunity to really
tie it all.
Which I really hope that we kind of see someone from Rebels
make a cameo
in Rogue One. I mean, that'd be pretty cool.
That'd be pretty sweet. I wouldn't mind seeing like Sabine or somebody.
Sabine or Ezra or somebody.
Yeah, just kind of standing in the background.
Well, I think if they were going to do something like that, they probably would have like one of the more like smaller characters, like kind of in the background, just like a brief kind of cameo. Like, oh look, there's a chopper droid, sort of thing.
I was going to say they might do chopper since the droids seem to be the one that.
Yeah, that like to make it'll be the easiest thing to do too. Really. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't give you any indication of age or anything along those lines, so it'd be pretty easy to kind of throw it in the background.
Yeah. So, actually, not to get off topic like we always do, but there is the new Rogue One trailer. Somebody put it online, and somebody did it frame by frame. And in the space battle, those hammerhead ships that they have, like the ones with the elongated.
Yep.
They got from Princess Leia.
Okay.
Those older ones. It's actually there. It's in the background.
Oh, really?
So there is already one Rebels connection in Rogue One that we know of. So it's kind of cool. So we do see that the Empire attacks, kind of shows up out of nowhere. They ruthlessly attack them. I mean, they just...
blow to smithereens.
They were going with the salting the Earth strategy, essentially.
Yeah, and it's also the first time we see, I think, the TIE Interceptor, in Rebels. I don't think up to this point, unless it was in a couple of the last episodes, but at least
I feel like we've seen one or two, haven't we?
We might have, I don't know. But we're starting to see the more and more use of it anyway, the Interceptor, which is...
That's fair.
Obviously, we find out it's much faster than an A-Wing. A-Wings can't even keep up with it. So
right.
It's like putting a jet fighter up against a prop plane from World War II or something. They just can't keep up. So, but it definitely showed how ruthless I think the Empire is.
Yeah.
They don't care because you have no right to attack us, and they're gone.
Well, then you don't want people walking away from that saying, "Oh, I attacked the Empire, or I got away with this crime," sort of thing.
So they think they're doing it to make an example, or you think they're just doing it to be assholes?
No, I think it's an example sort of thing. Like, you want to make your presence known in that area. You're not going to tolerate an open rebellion or someone violating whatever rules you have established.
Okay. Copy that, Dictator Eric. Copy that.
If that's what the Empire is, okay.
I mean... Democrat. Yeah, it's funny. All right. So... next scene when they do there's a big briefing on what went wrong with the supply run to Terra Love, which that was the name of the planet they were trying to get to, was Terra Love, baby.
So Earth Love?
Yes, exactly, Terra Love. It's funny how they did that, right? So they reiterate how low they are again on pilots. And the biggest thing for this scene that I thought was the revealing of the secret order, I guess, of Fulcrum. That there's not just a Fulcrum, which we thought was Ahsoka, but in reality is maybe multiple people, or even like a secret group. of informants that the rebels use.
Well, it's funny. I think even by the end of the episode, you do have a rough idea of who this current Fulcrum is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there is room for that to be other individuals later on.
Yeah, Brian, what do you think about a Fulcrum, like a CIA almost, like a?
Well, it was interesting to me because I didn't even, for some reason, I never caught that as being Ahsoka, being Fulcrum, whatever.
Yeah, from season 1.
Yeah.
Just kind of want to read it. It happens. But yeah, so I thought it was interesting. I think it's a nice tie-in to the Aftermath book. I don't know if you guys have listened to it or read that yet.
I have not.
The first big novel before.
No.
Anyway, so in that novel, Wedge talks about going on his first mission because of Fulcrum. So everybody assumed that was Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
But this obviously kind of...
It changes it up a little bit.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder if they're doing a little retconning here to screw up a mistake, maybe, or if this was actually planned or not. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you could make the argument it's not necessarily a mistake that's being modified as much as just kind of modifying it to kind of fit what they want to do a little better.
Yeah. So we find out from Fulcrum that the elite, some pilots from the elite Sky Striker Academy want to defect. Is it just me, or did you guys think the Sky Striker Academy kind of had the Top Gun feel?
Yeah, very much
to
so.
It.
I was waiting for the big volleyball match.
The big volleyball match, yeah. Yeah, I definitely got that impression that this is where the best of the best go, or one of the places that the best of the best in the Empire might go to become TIE pilots. So, kind of elite.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does kind of give that impression, and though I did find it funny how Wedge was talking about how he got recruited from, what was it, like a transporter ship?
Yeah, like he was just flying cargo ships.
Yeah.
Another Top Gun reference in a way. He screwed up this much if he were flying a cargo ship. Rubber dog. Shit from Hong Kong. Anyway. So, yeah. And then the other thing I think to take away from this scene, I guess, would be that they were going to they send Sabine in rather than Ezra, because Ezra has now become too recognizable.
Mm-hmm. Well, that
to the Empire.
They talk about how Sabine has, a year or two, like in
cadets school already,
so she actually is pretty well aware of the area.
It's her mission, and at that point, I mean, you start to see the first signs of Ezra kind of being a little hesitant about it.
Well, yeah. Well, later on, he's borderlining on like a panic attack about.
Well, yeah, because he's still overprotective of his friends,
right? Because I'm not going to let anything happen to him ever again, right? Exactly. So we'll touch more on that a little bit later. All right, so we move on to Arrival at Sky Strike Academy, Top Gun of the Empire. Kind of cool. I kind of like the floating tower in the sky kind of feel. Like I said in the last podcast, it did have twin suns, so they're already screwing with us, I think, trying to keep us off balance or keep us thinking that maybe this is the twin suns that Ezra saw.
I mean, yeah, it's a fun little reference, but I don't think most people watching will be like, that's clearly what Darth Maul was looking for. That pilot guy.
Yeah, I just think they're kind of trying to throw us off or keep us guessing a little bit. But I did like how Sabine did the whole NES cartridge thing with her.
Except it was just a plastic card she blew on it.
Plastic card, yeah. She's like, these things be temperamental. Let me blow on it, rub it
on her shoulder.
Reminded me of playing NES all those years, man. Yeah. So, and here we go again. Next scene is Ezra being very impatient, having to wait. Maybe it's just me, but it kind of felt like signs of the dark side, kind of still. Like he's not quite over the Sith holocron. He's not quite.
I don't know. I think that's just
because Anakin
him being
was
young and impatient, and
right.
I don't know if it really pointed to, transitioning to the dark side as much as just kind of his temperament in general.
It just kind of reminded me of Anakin Skywalker a little bit, I think, because Anakin was the same way.
Yeah.
Maybe I do too many comparisons between the two. I don't know, Brian. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, it kind of felt like he wanted to be in the action. Like it was he wanted to be the center of the attention. He wanted to be he wanted the mission to be around him. Mm-hmm. And this time it's around Sabine, and it was kind of, you could see the tension was, a little bit of the tension was there.
Yeah. Do you guys think maybe it's also could be because he's a little closer to Sabine, per se, than the rest of the
trying to put a romance in Rebels?
Yes, I am.
We're trying to take it out of the other show, all the other shows we watch, and we're trying to put it into.
Well, I'm just suggesting it.
No.
No? Okay.
No, I'm hoping not.
Well, I mean, if we're going to add a romance, we had Callus talking about Zeb, so there's that.
Oh, dear God. Enemy mind. All right. Obviously, romance is not lost on YouTube.
We're just going to scoot away from that.
We're just going to keep moving.
Like, on that note.
And on that note, we're moving on. All right. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I think a lot of this was because him and Sabine are close. I think it also has something to do with what you said about Brian, about trying to keep his friends safe.
Well, I mean, I see Brian's point, but I don't know if the show's really done much to suggest that he's especially close with Sabine, has it?
There was a little bit at first in season 1. There wasn't a whole lot in season 2, other than maybe a little back and forth between the two.
They shared a locker.
Well, I don't want to say they shared a locker, but I don't know. Yeah, kind of high school, puppy love maybe kind of stuff. I don't know.
Like
or at least as they're trying anyway.
I mean, you might have had
Not
a little of that
very well.
like towards the beginning of season 1, but I mean, it hasn't really done much to build on it since. So I mean,
All right.
it's always come across more like just they're part of the same crew / family union.
Okay, that's fair. All right. Okay, so we move on to TIE simulators, which I thought were kind of cool looking. You know, they had like kind of the big the dome.
Yeah,
the ball
it was
dude.
kind of an interesting thing because I wasn't aware they had those sort of simulations.
Yeah, it was like
within the Star Wars universe. It was kind of a weird, like almost Ender's Game sort of thing.
Kind of, yeah. It was like a 360. I forget what they call those things that spin all the way.
Like just the plane simulations things.
Yeah, but you sit in them and they spin you all different directions.
Japanese
gyrospheres.
Yeah, you know how you sit in those things and you have
Yeah.
to kind of. It kind of reminded me of that, except it was they simulated the TIE and how they fly, and it seemed like it did a lot of that kind of motion. So I thought it was just kind of a cool thing.
Well, yeah, I thought it was pretty neat the way they had that in there. I was like, oh, they've never actually touched on that in any of the.
Yeah, you never really.
It was basically just like you watch the TIE fighters take off, and you're like, okay, and you just take it for granted that they were taught how to do it, but then you're like, how were they taught?
Yeah, up until this point, you just kind of assume they just send them out into space and
you
figure it out.
Yeah, and you kind of think about it after a while, and you're like, well, TIE fighters are single manned. How do they get trained if they're always single
fighter? Yeah. So yeah, that's a good point. So in the simulator, we TIE SS-25. You can call me Wedge. So he tries to reach out. Sabine gives her, I forget, Tala something or another. I can't remember whatever her alias is. But the minute that they start being a little bit personal, you hear the instructor say, "No, stick to numbers. Stick to numbers and protocol."
Which is just like management.
Yeah, very much so. Like the corporate.
I mean, it's just straight management. Like, you are a number to me. You are not a person. And it's easier for management to just say you're gone.
Yeah,
you're gone. And you don't have any of that connection. So if there's a battle, they don't care who it is because there's no connection. You're just a number.
Right, and it's very. I guess
describes the workforce pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a pretty good description. Really, you're just a number in the system, and there's no personality. There's no individualism. They prefer you to work.
Yep.
As a cog in the machine, so to speak.
Like you SS-25 are simply 48 packages per minute.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I care about. Did you hit your 48 packages per minute? Because I can multiply you by however many of you there are, and that's what my target is.
And that's my KPI.
Yeah, exactly.
Key performance indicators,
Yeah.
Sorry, throw a little DHL in there. All right, so then they're ordered to attack a helpless transport, and then Sabine actually throws protocol back in their face and goes, "Well, isn't protocol to do such and such?" And he cuts
to board the ship, and he's like, "Well, I changed the order, so blow it up."
No, he's just like, you're going to obey, and
you just follow directions,
right? So obviously, no regard for personal well-being. It's just a mission. It's just you don't need to think. You need to do what I tell you.
Yeah, don't worry about how many people you kill. Those are orders. You follow your orders. That's what makes you a good soldier.
Right.
Here.
Very dark, very empire.
Well, I mean, that's a very militarized way of looking at it. I mean,
well, yeah, because you're taking the personality out of it.
I mean, regardless of what army or military you're working in, you follow orders, and that's what makes you a good soldier. Mm-hmm. From a lot of military's point of view.
Yep, precisely. So they get obviously next scene they get out of the simulator. I kind of liked how Sabine plays dumb right off the bat and goes, "What kind of ship was that?" And it was obviously the Ghost that had to simulatedly destroyed them. But I thought that was
that's kind of funny that that's actually the ship they're using in simulations to train them now.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that they've gone the extra step and have identified. Look for this ship. Look out for this ship because they're starting to build profiles of them.
Well, you could also make the argument from the Empire's reaction to this that might be why they're actually blowing cargo ships up now, is because they expect these things to be modified, or it's a reaction to the rebellion itself.
That, or it could be that they want to make an example to keep it quelled. You know, so and they know that things are starting to get out of hand. So now it's time to be even more ruthless than normal. You know, there's being a dick, and then there's killing somebody.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's one of those things like if they're losing soldiers to modified cargo ships like the Ghost, then they have to expect other ships can be modified down the road and used in that similar manner.
Like in a trap.
Yeah, I mean, the same way you have to, you know, there was, you look at, the Iraq War, you had to start kind of shooting at cars that were parked along sides of roads that were abandoned because they could be IUDs or something along that line.
So they're adapting to the playbook.
Yeah,
the environment that they're in. Okay, I'll buy that. I can see that. All right, so Sabine's out. Yeah, we're introduced to a new character, a Captain Volt Scaris. To me, Mr. Scaris looks a lot like Viper from Top Gun, who was the instructor in Top Gun, who happens to be played by Tom Skerritt. So you have Captain Scaris, Tom Skerritt.
So you think it's a reference?
I think it's a definite throwback.
It's a nod.
It's a nod to somebody in the Rebels camp is definitely a Top Gun fan.
Yeah.
And most of our generation is.
So where was the volleyball scene at then?
Nah, I couldn't figure that out. I guess I don't know.
It got cut.
No way to.
It's going to be on the deleted scenes.
It's on the extended version.
There was a party down on the planet, and they cut the whole scene. Jedi versus Sith volleyball.
They can only throw so much into the 30-minute episode, and really the entire volleyball scene. It was like 25. They had to cut it.
Then it goes even further. There's even more Top Gun because he goes, "You must show discipline and order, or you'll get your wingman killed." And I was like, "Boy, this is really Top Gun."
Wingman.
Your wingman. So I don't know, but again, another example of the Empire just coming down hard and really reinforcing their new policy. So there we go. So let's move on to enter Governor Price and Agent Callus. The ISB has information that some cadets want to defect. So is it just me, or does it seem like ever since Thrawn has entered the picture, the Empire is either a step ahead or right on the heels of the Rebels?
I mean, it does kind of imply that a little bit in the beginning of the episode as well.
Yeah, the beginning of the episode, they're right there, and then they're right on their heels here.
Yeah, they're definitely taking it a bit more tactical. They are kind of looking at, from a resource management that the rebellion needs sort of approach to it, and kind of trying to interject.
Yeah, so
definitely.
It makes me wonder, though, if one of the Fulcrum agents isn't maybe a double agent, because it
could be a possibility.
That they know that.
Well, I mean, once you start running into espionage storylines, I mean, you have secret agents, double agents, people that are
secret probation.
Yeah. There's a lot of variables you can go with it.
It just makes me wonder how much is being derived from Thrawn's tactical expertise, how he connected the dots.
I mean,
before,
then you have to wonder, maybe did someone actually sneak into the actual rebellion and is actually being an agent in that regard?
It could be a mole. That's true. What do you think, Brian? You think there's a mole?
It could be a mole. You're right. It could be a mole, or it could be that since Thrawn is so highly regarded, that he's being fed stuff from the Emperor or something.
Yeah. Visions or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it could be. I didn't think about that. That's a possibility. So, I also like the interaction in the scene between Price and Callus. She kind of turns to Callus and goes, "Well, maybe I can teach you something today," or something like that. So,
just kind of trying to one-up him and
looking down on Callus. I mean, so.
Yeah, Callus, I mean, he hasn't been doing particularly successfully since we've been introduced to Callus in the show.
Yeah, it just makes me wonder if that's just even more motivation for Callus later on in the episode, which we'll get to.
Just kind of undercutting her authority, she's failing too.
Yeah, wanting to see her fail.
Yeah.
What do you think, Brian? Do you think?
Yep. I mean, you could tell there's that the way she's talking to him is she got word of his issue that he had, and now she's just like she thinks she's better than him now.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's one of those like, well, now that you're in the doghouse, blah blah blah, and then she's just always like poking the bear, like this quick jabs.
Yep.
And he's at a. He's less ranked than her now, right?
Yeah, he's just an agent in the ISP where she's actually like a governor. Like,
right. So he can't say anything to her.
Right. He's got to bite his tongue constantly.
I have a quick question. Did anyone notice, like, there's one scene where Price is talking to another officer, and you have, like, the shot of her from the side, and she almost looks cross-eyed for, like, almost 20 seconds.
Yes.
That wasn't just me, then.
No, it was not just you.
I didn't catch that.
We'll have to watch it after we get done podcasting.
All right.
I saw the same thing, and I was like, that is so weird. I thought, like
I know it's not intentionally done, but it clearly, you, like, see a thing where, like, it's trying to, like, she's taking the picture from the side, but you see both eyes, and it looks...
like chameleon-esque.
Yeah.
Like she almost was like...
like, so I had the 3D animation off.
It was weird.
Yeah, like, it was just off for, like, 10, 20 seconds, and I was just, like, it just kind of stood out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, it's possible. We'll definitely take a look at it later. I want to see it. I want to see what you guys are talking about. So, Sabine and Wedge have their big heart-to-heart scene.
Oh.
Yeah. Wedge kind of reveals this isn't what he signed up for. So obviously even Wedge is seeing that the Empire is maybe changing and is not what it should be.
Well, I mean, yeah, you got to think about one. The Empire was supposed to be order and this greatness, and they're going to unify everything. And
yeah, it was supposed to end the war.
Right. But it turned around into this dark dictatorship that kills people if they don't do what they want and everything else.
Yeah.
And so he's like, this isn't what I signed up for. Callus is thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, he's still loyal to, but he's like, this isn't what I signed up for.
Yeah, they're starting to wake up to the reality of the truth and what the Empire is really about.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, this is where we learn that he's a cargo pilot and that really he was just kind of looking for an adventure, it sounds like to me. He was kind of bored.
Yeah, from his point of view, it was like,
wanted to do the right thing.
Maybe it paid better. Who knows?
And when you think about it, really, because before, probably at the beginning, they had the Empire Day. We've seen those, their Empire Day.
Yeah, there's a lot of propaganda along with it.
So, why not, right? If you're looking for something to do. So obviously, the other part of that little conversation I like is, she's like, well, she's like, all right, we need to get out of here. He's like, what's your plan? No, I'll let you know when I come up with that. He's like, really? She's like, welcome to the rebellion. Get used to it.
Yeah. There's a lot of,
flying by the seat of their pants kind of thing. So, I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. So. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, they gave Sabine a couple of decent lines throughout the episode.
I think so. And I not that you guys want to hear this, but it could possibly play against Ezra later on down the line. Ezra might get jealous of
like her
Wedge and Sabine kind of thing.
So you're saying that Wedge might actually become a wedge between Sabine and...
Possibly.
That's so weird.
Let's take that name as literally as possible.
That's why I think they're going to do it. I think it's going to really help the storyline. That's why I think it's coming. I'm not just a hopeless romantic or something stupid, but
Well, I think hopeless romantic thing only really applies to the Star Wars universe. Like, I don't. Yeah, it's not a trait I see you in anything else.
Yeah. So, from a Star Wars story point, I'm like, that would be awesome. That would be a great way to get him to go to the dark side, kind of, and really get pissed off. And yeah. So.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So, all right. And speaking of the dark side, another example of Ezra's impatience on board the Rebel transport.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of scenes where they keep kind of jumping back to him, and you have that moment of Kanan where it's like, you have to kind of learn to accept the things beyond your control. Well, yeah, actually, I think that might be the one later down.
Well, no, that's exactly the scene, because Ezra's almost like pacing.
Yeah.
And he's like, you've got to calm down. And that's when he hits him with, there's, the Jedi wisdom, there's nothing you can do, so nothing you're gonna do is gonna help.
Yeah.
A Jedi's wisdom is to accept when something is out of your control, and then
that's funny. I said the same thing to somebody about a DUI.
Did you?
And they're trying to worry about what's going to happen in the court, and I'm like,
well, there's nothing you can do about it.
Nothing you can do about it. There's no sense in worrying about it. Just wait for it to happen and then take your punishment.
There you go.
Well, I mean, if we're going back to religious context, it's not that far off from like a serenity prayer sort of wisdom thing, right?
That's very, very much true, because he even goes on and says, do you trust her? Then trust her to do her job and to succeed. You know, so very nice little Yoda moment there. But again, to me, it's just a sign that he's not fully... It's not like there was one episode where he suddenly had a change of heart about the Sith holocron and then everything's fine.
He's still, an apprentice in terms of like picking up the ways of Jedi. Like, don't get me wrong, in terms of power technique, he's there, but like we're talking about like the things Kanan still can pass on, and these are those sort of things.
Oh, sure. It's just I think we're going to see him. Maybe it's just me, but I think I'll let you guys answer this. I think we're going to see him struggle all season long. I think you're going to see him.
Anytime you're looking at Jedis and the use of the Force, I mean that's kind of part of the storyline. So
it is part for the.
And I mean we've seen that throughout the first 2 seasons already. So
yeah, it's just a different interpretation on it. But I think we're going to continue to see him struggle all season long, maybe even longer. And I can't help but think of Yoda's big line to Luke: "Once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny."
So you're still thinking that holocron thing is just in the back of his head?
No, I think that. Well, I think some of those lessons. Yeah, he's fighting 2 different spheres of influence, 2 different teachings, right?
One's going to get him there faster,
right?
I think
exactly.
that's
and he's impatient about it.
So if I gave you $100, or I showed you how to make $100, which way would you take?
Can I use the $100 techniques to make $100 over and over?
No. I will either give you.
I'll
either give you.
So either way, I only end up with $100.
I'll either give you $100, or I'll show you how to make the $100.
In other words, work for it.
Right, and he wants that $100 because it's instant gratification,
instant power. Yeah. It's kind of sad, but that's
not so much instant power, but it's instant gratification. I mean, that's what it is. Like, he knows he can help his friends now if he does it this way. Yeah. Or if he does the other way, it'll take a little longer.
Well, and I mean, he can't predict how many friends will die in the meantime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's still that kind of fear-based thing that's there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so next scene, the attempt to escape and the Empire's trap. We're introduced to Rake, poor Rake. We knew you not so well. And Hobby, so it's
well, Rake's there pretty much to be like, do you trust her because she can get us killed, and then he gets killed.
And he gets killed. And then there's Hobby. Now the interesting thing about Hobby is, and some of our listeners may or may not know this, is that Hobby is actually a character from Empire Strikes Back, and he's a snow speeder pilot.
Okay.
There, so
does it ever go into his hobbies?
I don't know, maybe, but.
But we don't know what Hobby's hobbies are.
I do know.
He had a store. It's called The Lobby. Hobby Lobby.
It's Hobby's Hobby Lobby.
Hobby's Hobby Lobby.
So, but if you actually look at a picture of, and you can just type in Star Wars Hobby on Google, and then look at how Hobby is drawn, they actually look fairly similar. So they actually made sure.
Is that these 2 pictures you put on here?
Yes. So if you look,
it's not just like, wow, when did he become an Asian man?
Right, so
I don't know. The picture on the top picture of the one from the actual movie, he looks like he has like some kind of like weird science thing going on with the underpants on his head.
Well, that's part of his pilot gear.
And then the one at the bottom, I don't see it.
Now the one, so he's
the one right underneath him, right?
Okay, so you've got the one, depending on how mine is side by side. I don't know how it looks on your iPhone. Okay, yes, the one underneath, he's the one on the far side of Sabine.
He's on the far side?
He's not. He's the one
with the light brown hair?
With the light brown hair. So if you look at that picture and that picture, the way he's drawn, I think it's close.
Not even close.
I do. I mean, you're obviously... Anyway.
I'm just fucking with you.
But yeah, so it just...
He's saying you obviously can't see.
Anyway, it's another tie-in. I like their attention to detail. Not only are they bringing in Wedge, which we all knew was coming from the trailer, but now they're bringing in Hobby, another lesser-known character, but they're tying it in, and it's just another example to me of Star Wars is one big story kind of thing. And they're just,
true.
So there you go. So the other... Governor Price uses the dogfight scene. She separates the defectors from the rest of the group. I like how they use the wings coming off the TIE fighters, like just to disable them. I thought that was
where it's just like
cool.
hand off.
And
actually, basically, it was like the fucking toys.
Yeah,
yeah.
How the wings just pop off. Like, okay.
Also, I mean, that seems like a horrible thing you want to have like in anything outside of a training one, right? Like you don't want to have just like a code that pops the wings off.
The only thing I could,
because then you could just send out like a signal like to jam it and just like,
I mean, yeah, could you see
eventually
like
it's going to pop off.
Yeah, couldn't you see the rebels doing that? Like they get the signal and they just like they jam the other signal and then they hit their signal, pop all the wings off, or the Jedi's just go, they'll use your Jedi mind trick and just pop the wings off.
But yeah, the only justification I could come up with up for it in the storyline is that's how they train them. They train them to lose a wing.
It has to be like a training model.
Yeah, they're
like,
learning.
You can't justify that feature on any other variant.
Yeah, they're teaching them how to fly with one wing, or something. Something happens.
Pop their wings off.
That's what happens when you get shot.
All right, you have one wing. Good luck, and go.
Now try to survive a week in space in your little ball floating thing.
Good luck. All right, so next scene is Sabine versus Governor Price. I liked the scene. It was pretty cool. I thought the fight scene was pretty neat.
It wasn't bad. I mean, it was kind of interesting seeing the little tasers thing in the background they use for torture.
Yeah, we've seen that before. We've seen, I think it was Kanan in season 1 was on one of those. Mm-hmm. He's being tortured. But I liked how she says, well, she gets a jab on her and goes, the Empire trained me well. And she's like, well, my clan trained me better. So another reference to the Mandalorians.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely something they're building up for the season, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, especially from the little bits we've seen in the trailer.
Well, I just like how every episode they kind of keep talking about it. It's at least mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it keeps it fresh in your mind.
Yeah, it's like the second or third time they mentioned her clan very specifically this season, where that has not really been a thing in the last couple.
Oh, yeah.
I like it because it's Mandalorian, so, the whole Boba Fett tie-in, it's like...
Hell yes. Yes, we're going back.
Yes.
Yeah.
My favorite character of all time.
Yeah,
you just like the way he dives into the Sarlacc pit.
That's the only part I didn't like. But
it's like his main part.
I know, but even having the toy.
Like other time, he was kind of hanging out in the background.
He was one of the coolest toys. He had the backpack that actually shot the rocket and everything else. And it was just like, it was cool.
He's the badass,
character. And he's in Jabba's palace, and then they're like, "What's up?" And he's like, "So," it's like
he's just cool.
It's like you just cool. He was just cool.
You should have just had like Marlboro just smoking.
Exactly. He could have had a Marlboro just smoked.
Just a little pint of whiskey.
Yeah. What's up?
So I guess my question would be: do you think we'll see these two tangle again? Because they seem to. It seems like a kind of a cool rivalry.
You think Price and Sabine?
Yeah. I kind of like the idea of it.
I don't know if we'll see Price and Sabine again. I mean, I'm sure we'll see the interaction between Price and the Rebels.
Right.
But I don't know so much about the Price-Sabine angle.
I mean, possibly it's just one of those things like you'd have to find a way to justify putting in the storyline if you wanted that to continue.
Well, yeah, I don't want them to just put it in there.
I mean, it's kind of weird to have Price as a character that's kind of fighting on the front lines, sort of thing. So I wouldn't expect it too often.
It didn't seem like they're going to try to make her like arch nemesis or something.
Well, I was kind of hoping they will because we don't have a lot of, bad female villains in Star Wars to have Sabine.
You've had a couple here and there, but I mean, you haven't had a lot that stood out. Like even last season, they had like the one character that blew up droids with her, became like a bounty hunter with her.
Oh, her bounty hunter friend?
Yeah,
she was more of an ally than an enemy. But
towards the end, but yeah.
Yeah. But,
so, I mean, she has had rivals within the show before.
I know, it's just Star Wars, I think Governor Price I like her because, like I said, I think she's the first real decent female villain in the Star Wars universe, so to speak. I can't really picture another...
The one Sith in Clone Wars.
Okay, yeah.
Bald head, I can't remember her name.
Yeah, you're talking about Asajj Ventress, yes.
Yeah. I mean, she was a pretty cool...
What about the fifth sister?
You just
Droid Commander.
You just liked her because...
Sarah Michelle Gellar?
Yeah, Sarah Michelle Gellar, but... I don't know, to me I don't know. I really like Price. I don't know what it is about it, but I just like
the way she looks at people cross-eyed.
I like the villain, yes, the cross-eyed.
There's that whole chameleon look.
Maybe it's the tie-in to Indiana Jones. I don't know. Anyway,
exactly. She does look a lot like her.
She does look a lot like her. Yes, she does.
Where is my crystal skull?
We do get one other. Oh wait, nope, no, we don't. So I will edit that out.
We don't get anything else.
We're done.
Nothing for you.
There is actually
enjoy another podcast. Thank you, Eric. Have a good night.
Maybe we'll leave it. All right. So the other thing I liked about this scene was Wedge really showing that he wants to help, but he's pretty much green in the cell.
The whole Sabine, don't do it. Well, now we have your name.
Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot.
very much. Go away now.
Not only that, but then they're in the cell, and he's like, "Well, we gotta think of something. What are we gonna do? I don't know. What you want to do?"
Well, he kind of does that same quote that Sabine does earlier on. He's like, "I'll let you know when I figure it out."
And he obviously can't come up with anything.
Yeah,
yet.
and then he's like, "Well, knock out a guard,"
which is I kind of like because Wedge is such like this big badass pilot all throughout every Star Wars classic trilogy movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's part of the.
Well, in his defense, he clearly is competent as a pilot.
Yeah, not so much a soldier or a rebel, per se.
Yeah,
but he's also ones in books that goes off on that they send on adventures and missions and stuff. I don't know.
He might get there eventually.
He'll get there eventually, but it's kind of funny. I don't know. I enjoyed it. All right, so the next big scene is the help from Callus. So finally, we see Callus kind of, I don't know, maybe pay back his enemy mine debt to Zeb.
Oh yeah, I mean that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, or it was maybe he was just using that as an excuse to Sabine. I don't know, and he wants to he'll continue to help them down the line. I don't know. What do you guys think?
He might continue to help him down the line, like when it doesn't benefit him. Like if it would have benefited him, I think he would have captured him, but he knew it would help Price.
Yeah.
And he was like...
It's a win-win situation.
Exactly. So you don't see him turning, like, maybe even being like a Fulcrum sort of character in this?
I mean, he could be, but I just think this was more of a...
I'm going to get Price.
Exactly. I'm gonna show Price's errors of her ways to try to take her spot. You know what I mean?
Just like, well, she goes down in peg, I might be able to step up and kind of get a slightly better position here.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Aaron? You think that's right, or do you think he's a Fulcrum?
I don't know if he's necessarily like a Fulcrum, but I do see him kind of transitioning away from the Empire.
I do too. I think he's going to become. I think.
We might argue on the reasons for that, but
I think he's already a Fulcrum agent. Now, whether he's a double agent or not, I don't know, because somebody had to tip him off that there were cadets, wanting to defect. So Now, whether he did that to set up Price so that Price could take the fall, he had a plan all along. Maybe.
It'd actually be interesting to see if they change it to where he was actually a Fulcrum agent almost from the beginning of Rebels. So his incompetence of letting them all go isn't just him being incompetent. It's actually intentional.
Well, maybe, but he almost kills Zeb if it's not for Ezra. Otherwise, I might buy that.
Yeah,
in
that's fair.
Season 1. So, but all right. So next scene is the escape in the TIE bomber. They're pretty much outmatched again by Scarus. Not only is the TIE bomber slower, it can take a lot of hits apparently, but it is slower, and Scarus is obviously a much better pilot than Wedge is, at least at this point.
Well, then, once again, even just to it being a slower ship, it doesn't particularly seem that maneuverable either. So
in some ways, though, I almost wanted Wedge to kind of outmaneuver him, just to show that he's the kick-ass pilot that we've seen.
Right.
But we didn't really get that. So there was one thing about the episode that kind of took me back where I liked to have seen. Maybe it was to see Wedge kind of...
If you're driving an Oldsmobile, there's only so much you can do.
I know, but it would have been nice if we put that Oldsmobile in a couple spins or did some maneuvers.
Watch me, with my almost half a year of pilot's training, beat the shit out of you, old man.
Of course, there could be Han Solo maneuvers where it's all right, I know some maneuvers, and he just goes slightly off to the side, like in Star Wars. But that's not fun. So, all right. So, do you think we're going to see Scarus again? Do you think we'll see the elite pilot? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. From how they kind of shot some of the angles toward
like he took his mask off, kind of like, damn, they got away.
Yeah, it definitely suggests we probably will see him again at some point.
Yeah. I kind of like the idea of maybe having Wedge have somebody to battle against. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, you like that?
I do like that arch nemesis.
Man.
I love the arch nemesis.
Romantic interest, arch nemesis. Everyone needs a pair.
Everything's better in twos.
I guess in this scenario it would be threes, but...
Rule of two.
The rule of two?
The rule of two.
Oh, so you're all six.
So we see Ezra come to the rescue. So So Ezra finally gets to come and save the day. Do you guys think Ezra has learned his lesson about being patient? Yes or no?
Nope.
Not even a little.
I think this will prove his point of why he needed to go help
the whole time.
Because he's going to be like, look, we could have saved them all.
Yeah,
like you have in the notes here about the next little section. We could have saved them all if I'd have just been in there and blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. But instead, you made me wait and blah blah blah. I can see that happening.
See that coming up. Yeah. All right. So speaking of the last scene, we come to Welcome to the Rebellion. So they lost 6 pilots and they only gained 2 elite ones.
Did they really gain 2 elite ones?
Well, you got Hobby and you got Wedge.
Now Wedge, I can see it being an elite one, but Hobby.
Well, Hobby's only seen...
He's just a pilot.
We don't know much about him other than Empire Strikes Back.
Right, exactly.
And I don't even know if he survives Empire Strikes Back.
And that's what I'm saying. So it can't be that elite. At least we know Wedge
for like multiple 5 years. That's okay. Apparently survived a little bit.
Well, maybe from the Rebellion's point of view because they got 2 cadets from Sky Striker Academy.
Okay, I can see that.
Maybe
it's
that's how they're viewing it.
You know, like half their pilots who are known for driving tractors.
True.
So either way, it's not going to be easy for the Rebellion, and it just continues to show how desperate they are, one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that they took such a great risk to get 2 when they're down 6.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so.
Well, actually, technically, they took a big risk to get 3, but 1 died.
Right, that's true. So. All right, guys. Well, I think we definitely dissected this thing as much as we can, so let's go right to final thoughts and grades. All right, Aaron, I'll let you go first today. What's your final thought and grade for the Antilles extraction?
I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
I'm not really big on the Top Gun references. Not really a film of my generation, I guess.
Right.
And it had some decent action scenes, and it's kind of I like making fun of Callus, so there's that. Mm-hmm. And it was an okay episode.
Okay, that's fair. I will. I'd probably give it a solid B to a B plus, maybe at tops. I thought it expanded the universe. I liked the backstory of Wedge. I liked how Sabine matched up against Governor Price. I liked how they threw Hobby into it. So for me, those little connections pay off big, and I don't mind these little side adventures, especially when you get to tie in some more familiar characters. Not only did they connect the universe, but again, they expanded it with like Scarus. I love the Top Gun references. Again, that's a difference in generation, I guess. That's just me. So, yeah, I'll give it a good solid B. Brian, what do you think?
I'm gonna go with a. I'll follow Aaron and give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
The my interest in Star Wars has always been the lightsabers and the Jedi stuff. This episode didn't have a lot of that.
Yeah.
It did have a little hint of the Mandalorian stuff with the Boba Fett. But it was still basically it was like. It's kind of why I'm not as excited about Rogue One.
Oh, because there's lack of Jedi in it.
There's lack of Jedi, lack of lightsabers, and you can tell the story is going to be a little. I don't know.
It depends on where they go with it. We'll see.
But yeah,
I know what you're saying.
But yeah, give it a 7. It was 7 out of 10. It wasn't a horrible episode by any means. It wasn't a filler episode.
No.
So that's why 7 out of 10.
But it is a little bit more slow paced, and especially coming after like the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right. So where can you find 4 Midwest Guys? Well, it's real easy. Just go to Google and type in the number 4 Midwest Guys.
Google us.
Just Google us. We're getting very popular apparently on our YouTube page, which we don't really promote that much. I know you do a little bit on Twitter, Brian.
Every once in a while, yeah.
But we're getting a lot of hits, especially on our Star Wars podcast out there in YouTube land. So very big thanks to all of us, to all our YouTube viewers out there. But know that we're also available on Podbean. You can find us on our Facebook page. We have an email account. We're available on iTunes for those podcasters out there who use iTunes. We're on OneCast. I put us on Stitcher.
I mean, we were charging $4.99 an episode, but for you guys, you listeners, we're going to make it free.
No, actually, it's always free. But that's a good pitch, dude. It's a good pitch.
I was trying.
You were trying. So
make them feel like they're getting something.
Getting something for them. There you go. We love you so much that we just want to make it free all the time. So we're easy. What can I say? So all right. All right, so on that note, Brian, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. B and my brother Aaron, as always, thanks for joining us.
problem.
All right. And for B. Willie saying, may the force be with you always.